Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, the 25th of February, and we are continuing our work on the arrival. Okay, but first of all, we are going to have a little look at commas in sentences, and we're particularly thinking about something called parenthesis, and that just means adding in extra information. Okay, so with that in mind, where do you think the commas go in these two sentences? So I'll read the first one and we shall have a go at it. The book will without a doubt be sold out by now. Where are we going to put the commas in that sentence? Where could I put them in? Where I could take that out and it would still make sense. So have a little think. And I'd like you to rewrite that sentence with the commas in, please. And our second one, he always talks, sometimes he shouts to the neighbours down the road. Where are our commas going to go? Where is the extra information in that sentence that if we took it out, it would still make sense? Okay, rewrite that sentence with your commas in. Right, hopefully you've done that. The book will, comma, without a doubt, comma, be sold out by now. If I take out that middle section, the book will be sold out by now still makes perfect sense on its own, okay? And our second one, he always talks, comma, sometimes shouts, comma, to the neighbours down the road. If we take that out, he always talks to the neighbours down the road, still makes perfect sense, okay? So, I know this is quite a busy page, so let me just cover this up for a second and we will just look at the top two for now. Which of these sentences is correct? Which one has used the commas correctly? So A, he loves to play football with his friends every week, or B, he loves to play football with his friends every week. Which one is correct? Write down A or B. Okay, let's have a look. Hopefully you wrote down B, because if you take out that section that says with his friends, he loves to play football every week, still makes sense on its own, okay? So here we need to add some commas in. So pause the video, rewrite these sentences with the commas in the correct place. Where are you going to put them? The flowers from the supermarket lasted for 2 weeks. This book from the library is in terrible condition. So rewrite these, put your commas in. Where do you think they go? Okay, hopefully you've done that. So we should have here the flowers, comma, from the supermarket, comma, lasted for 2 weeks. You take that middle bit out, it still makes sense. This book, comma, from the library, comma, is in terrible condition. Hopefully you got those correct. Okay, let's have a look at this bottom bit here. So where have we used the commas for parenthesis? Now, commas have been used for different reasons in these sentences. You're looking at the bit where you can take that part of the clause out, okay? So the old decrepit castle, which towered over the town, had been abandoned for as long as I can remember. Where have the commas been used correctly in the sentence below? So it is correct, but there's 3 commas there and you only need to choose 2 that are correct. And the second one, the house, which has recently become empty, was always so lovely, bright and welcoming. Where would you tick for those commas for parenthesis? Okay, our first one should be here and here. That comma is used correctly here, but that is for listing adjectives in an expanded noun phrase. It's not parenthesis. That middle section is, if you took it out, it would still make sense. And on this second one, here and here, and again, that comma is correct here, but it has been used as a comma in a list of adjectives again. Interestingly, these parentheses have got our relative clauses as well, aren't they? Because they've got those relative pronouns. Okay, fabulous. So, as we know, The Arrival is a picture book. However, today we're going to have a go at creating some dialogue for it, okay? So we see our main character having a few conversations, don't we, along the way in this book? And here he is at dinner with this family that have invited him in. They seem like they're almost the fishermen of the city. Obviously, they catch all sorts of strange foods that we've never seen before, but they show him how to do that down at the shore and they invite him back to dinner at their house. So we're going to have a little think about what he might be saying at different points in the text. Okay. First of all, though, we need to recap what we need to remember when we are writing speech. So I've done a little example here of a short dialogue, and we are just going to talk through all the different things we need to remember when we're writing speech correctly. Okay. Excuse me, said the man, walking towards the ticket officer. The ticket officer looked at him. What do you want? Make it quick. Well, said the man nervously, I was wondering if you could give me directions to the nearest lodgings. Okay, so here we have open speech marks. You must have a capital letter at the beginning of your speech. We then, over here, need some punctuation inside your speech marks before you then close them. And remember, the speech marks only go round what the person has actually said, okay? Here, I've got walking towards ticket officer, and I've just highlighted that as a bit of action. So you can add some action in, can't you, once they've said something or before they've said something. Here we've got a bit of action before our speech. So we need to put a comma to lead us into that next bit of speech. Then I've got open speech marks, capital letter, and again, we end with some sort of speech, punctuation, some sort of punctuation here, sorry, and then closing speech marks at the end. When it comes to the split speech, when we've got speech, somebody does something, speech, and it's still the same person, you need to have a comma at the end of your first bit and then a comma before your second part of speech. Now, this does not need to be a capital letter. It does because it's an I, and that's always capital. If it was a we or something, it would just be a lowercase w. Okay? So have a look at that, remind yourselves of what we need to do. Okay, so here is a picture of our main character, and he is talking to a man on the street, okay? And this is a local guy. He's obviously visiting, isn't he, our main character? And he's asking him some information. Now look at what he's pointing to, what he's drawing. And the man then goes like this. It's like, ah, so he finally knows what he's talking about. Jot down a couple of notes. What do you think these two men are talking about? Pause the video now. Okay, so it seems to me like he's looking for somewhere to stay, some lodgings, isn't he? So I've written a short dialogue here that we can have a look at and look for all our success criteria in there as well. I don't quite understand, said the man, puzzled by his explanation. Maybe if you could draw it for me, the local man asked, scribbling a sign in the air as though he was brandishing a pen of paper. Of course, said the visitor. He did a rough sketch in his notepad. Lodgings, he persisted as he prodded at the drawing. The local man nodded. Ah, right, this way. So we've turned that little bit of that little exchange between them into some sort of dialogue. We're obviously imagining what they've been saying to each other. Okay. So here we have another example. We have got our main character with his pet, his unusual pet, and he is looking for directions by the look of it. He notices this lady here. He wants to get to this place. This is their mode of transport. And she is showing him how he can buy a ticket in order to get on the mode of transport, okay? And this is what I've imagined that their conversation might be. So we're looking for these things: correct speech punctuation. Can you spot any action after our speech? And can you spot any alternatives to said? So rather than saying said all the time, can you find any alternatives? The man wandered aimlessly through the streets, lost and alone. Finally, he saw someone. Hello, he ventured, not knowing whether she knew the local language. She smiled, so he continued. I need to get here, he said, pointing to the map, and I'm not sure which boat to catch or even how to purchase a ticket. Here, said the woman. The woman said, as she gestured to a telephone-like contraption behind them. You turn the dial to the number of your station, and then you pull the lever. The man still looked confused. Look, I'll show you, she offered. Okay, so let's have a little look. Where is some action after our speech? Here we go. Pointing to the map. She smiled. She gestured to the telephone light. If you're gesturing, you're almost pointing to it as well. He looked confused. And where are some of our alternatives? The said, now I've used said, and I've said they said in a confused way or whatever else, but we've got he ventured. He continued. It's all right to use said as well, so you can mix it up, use lots of different ways of saying it. She offered. There we go. So we've got lots of different alternatives to said or ways you could add to it. So, final page. Your task today is to use one of these pictures as your inspiration or any of the other pictures we have seen today to write a dialogue. So here we have, on the left-hand side, the man and his family reunited in the new city, in the new country, and they seem a lot more pleased, don't they? What conversation could they be having? Maybe they're talking about their journey over as he was waiting for them, that sort of thing. On the other side, on the right-hand side, our picture is of the girl from his family, and she is now showing a new person around. So just as she was the arrival, she is now helping someone who has just arrived and pointing her in the right direction. So you can use either one of these photographs or one from any of the others that we've seen, and you are going to write your own dialogue. Oh, excuse me. So remember, you need to include these things: correct speech punctuation, action after speech, and some alternatives to said. Okay, I'm really looking forward to reading what you come up with for these. So do not forget to send them to your teacher. Thank you, children. Enjoy.